Hello and assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Swanky Doctor's podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Tabby Fayyaz, who is an internal medicine resident and working in the United States, and she's also the founder of Resiyay, which is a platform that helps young doctors in their USMLE matching journey. So, Dr. Tabby, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ali, or rather I should say Dr. Heather. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited and honored to be here. I really appreciate it.
Today we will be discussing about the USMLE STEP 2 exam. And before moving to that particular topic, can you briefly walk us through your USMLE pathway journey and what was your timeline of giving those USMLE STEP exams, and how was your experience of going through that entire matching process?
Okay, I will try to make this as concise as I can. Before that, a little bit of my background, who am I and how can I speak about this? I'm a USIMG. So some of my experience might be slightly different than most of the audience, but it's still USMLE, it's still residency application, the pathways cross. So where did I start? How was it? I'm a Caribbean IMG. What that means is at the end of every rotation, we have to take a shelf exam. Shelf exams are shelved questions of step 2. So technically we had exposure to step 2 questions even before we started our dedicated time. Now, when you're finished with your shelf exams, then you go into dedicated time for step 2. My dedicated was 2 months. What resources did I use? That's always a good starting point. UWorld. And I would annotate on my notes on the side if I needed to. Later in the second month, I started using AMBOSS for ethics. It's nice to see questions from a different angle. I'd also highly suggest people to look over NBME shelf exams. I think they're called, I forget what they're called, CCS or something like that. I apologize if, my information is all over.
Okay, sure.
They're practice shelf exams. Reason I recommend NBME is because NBME writes USMLE. So if you're getting your questions from the people who are writing the exam, you know how those people ask. UWorld is amazing. AMBOSS is amazing. They don't write the exam though. CMS form, all CMS forms. So at the end of your preparation, maybe your second month, do the CMS forms. If you're poor in surgery, if you're poor in OB-GYN, you can go and do 3-4 forms. Reevaluate yourself, do more practice tests. And that's exactly what I did. Some things that I wanted to touch on, if somebody's curious, how exactly did you manage your day? How exactly did you do? You can just go to the Resiyay website. You go over to USMLE Prep, and it has guides on how to tackle step 1, 2, and 3. And those guides have my exact study plan.
When did you appear in USMLE Step 1? Was it prior to appearing in the USMLE Step 1 exam, or did you go for it after you were done with the step 1?
We have to do it chronologically. So we take step 1, then we do rotations, which are all the mandatory rotations, and then we do step 2. So it has to be in that sequence.
Okay, so by the time you graduated, you were already done with the steps, right?
Step 2. I haven't taken step 3 because my program does not require it.
Oh, so that's great. Okay, and what do you recommend? What's the recommended timeline, or what's the recommended time that one should at least have for ample preparation of the USMLE Step 2 exam?
That is a great question. Let me discuss a few scenarios. If you are someone who has a very strong foundation of basic sciences and you took step 1, it's pass fail, but you passed, knowing you passed comfortably. You see how you did on all the subjects. Step 2 maybe takes 3-4 months. However, scenario, if you took step 1 and you're kind of poor in basic sciences, you're not really sure, give yourself a little bit more time. Everybody's unique. I would say at least 6 months. Reason being, step 1 builds you up to step 2. I just don't want anybody to think that I brushed by step 1, I passed, cool, let me go take step 2. It's not an easy exam, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. It is still doable.
Okay. That's great. And Dr. Tabby, there are some people who prefer appearing in USMLE Step 2 exam before they have given USMLE Step 1 exam. So what would you like to say about that?
Everybody's
Like, is it the right approach?
It is such an interesting question, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this.
Okay.
Exams are written in a certain way. So follow that algorithm, but also know yourself. If you are in your coursework, if you're in your 4th year, 5th year medical school, you're acing your exams one after the other. Your clinical knowledge, all of your evaluations are top notch. You know your stuff. Okay, do what you feel like. But if you feel like, maybe I need to work on my basic sciences, maybe my clinical sciences aren't really there yet, do it in the right sequence. This is the best advice I can give.
Okay, that's great. And Dr. Tabby, can you please recommend some of the study resources that one should go through before appearing in USMLE Step 2 exam? Like you have mentioned a couple of Q banks, but what are some of the books that one should go through before they might appear in USMLE Step 2 exam?
I know a lot of my buddies who went to international schools, they use Kaplan. They're very fond of it, or they use Boards and Beyond. My personal recommendation, I didn't use either of those, and I'll tell you why. Kaplan videos are long. They're probably good, but they're Boards and Beyond videos are comprehensive. You might get stuck that I must watch every single video before I move on. That's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if you're not a videos person, dive straight into UWorld. Annotate yourself. One helpful thing that a friend passed down to me, every single day you do UWorld, say you do a block and it's 40 questions. Take a notebook, write down the questions you missed. Next to it, write the answer you picked, and then write the correct answer. This works because it trains your mind to pick the right thing. Sometimes we just write the right answer and we're like, oh, okay, I'll remember it next time. But you're not telling your mind what's wrong. You're just telling it what's right. So write both down, revise that every single day before you do your next one. Yeah. One last point, I'll make a big point. These exams are not about learning more and more. You need to revise what you already know.
Okay.
So dedicate some time to that. But yeah, resources, I'll keep it simple. UWorld, AMBOSS. I did make a spreadsheet for risk factors and screening. I think that's very helpful. I'll be more than happy to share that with you. It's also on the website. If you haven't heard of Divine Intervention, listen to his podcast. They work.
Okay. And you have already compiled everything regarding your Step 2 exam. Now I would like to know that what are some of the do's and don'ts like that one should consider while they might preparing for the USMLE Step 2 exam?
Do's and don'ts. Okay, let's go with the do's. Do take a day off. Do take time off. For me, I would take Sundays off. I didn't do anything because Monday would be my reset. Take assessments regularly. Sometimes we get nervous and we think, well, I don't want to take an assessment until I'm perfect. You would not know how to gauge your performance if you're waiting to be perfect. For example, if you started studying for Step 2, a month later, start taking assessments. Take the older ones. That's fine. They have easier questions. Build up your confidence. Yeah. So these are some of the big do's. Don't think it's a sprint. It's a marathon. You're not going to get all the information in cramming 4 nights. Don't leave the topics you don't like to the end. A lot of people don't like theology. A lot of people don't like OB/GYN. Tackle it first. Get it out of the way. And don't put yourself in a room and just close yourself. Have a social life as much as you can. Those would be some major ones.
Okay, so Dr. Tabby, you just mentioned that one should do at least a block each day, right? Mm-hmm. But what if if one hasn't gone through the entire syllabus yet, and do you recommend them to jump into the Q banks before they have even read the syllabus?
Explain that to me. What do you mean by the syllabus?
If whatever the syllabus of USMLE Step 2 is, if they haven't gone through or revised that recently, they won't have that particular memory of what they have already read. So is it recommended to jump into the Q banks directly before revising that actual part?
You would be revising from Boards and Beyond. Where is the revision coming from?
Maybe first aid.
First aid for
Like
step.
I have heard people to like they recommend at least revising the first aid before appearing in SY step 2 exam.
Have you seen the first aid for step 2?
No, step 1.
Oh, step 1 first aid. Okay. It's like step 2 first aid. Okay. Ali, everybody's different. If you feel like it's gonna give yourself, if it's gonna give you more comfort and confidence to review step first aid, I will warn you. You asked me about do's and don'ts. One don't is don't overload yourself with information. Step 1, first aid is comprehensive. You're going to be sitting there looking at information day in and day out. Number 2, that is passive learning. You have to understand the difference between passive and active. Some forms of active learning are doing questions, practice tests, making flashcards, writing down your wrongs, and annotating. Passive, listening to videos, reading, just try and do them. So my advice would be find where you are and do one form of passive and one form of active every day at least. Another form of active, Anki. You can also do Anki if you like.
Okay, that's great. And let's suppose a case like if I am appearing in USMLE step 2 exam next week. So what should be my strategy for that last week, and what should I do on that particular day of exam so that I stay calm, I am not anxious, and I can perform well in that particular exam?
I wish we had the magic pill for that. We don't. But you're going to be anxious if that's something you already have been through. If you've been through major exams, you know yourself. You're going to be anxious, you're going to be anxious. That's fine. What can you do to help yourself? Something that I personally did, I did biostats a few nights before my exam. So say 3 days before my exam, every night, I did a different topic of biostats, 2 to 3 topics. You find Randy Neal videos on YouTube. So every night, you're kind of like going through the same thing. You're starting to put things together. Number 2, start making a formula sheet. So when you get to the exam room, exam morning, your exam is started, you can start writing down all of your formulas. That's something I did in the last week. And aside from that, I got a buddy, and him and I used to do questions. Random. I think that really helped me. I know some people don't have the luxury of having a friend who works on the same schedule as you. So if that's not the case, I don't know. I definitely do formula sheet, definitely do biostats. Some of the bioethics are important now too. But if anything else, please sleep, please work out if that's something you do, and try to keep your stress levels at maintenance level. I'll tell you why.
So do we have? So do we have NBMEs like the one we have for USMLE step 1 exam? Like we go through NBMEs before appearing in the final exam. So are there similar exams for the USMLE step 2 exam?
Absolutely. So earlier when I was talking about the CMS forms, so NBME writes CMS forms, NBME writes step 2 practice forms. The difference, CMS forms are shelf exams, which I explained like happen after a rotation. And rotation are the same topics in step 2, which are internal medicine, OB-GYN, pediatrics, surgery, family medicine, and there's one more that I always forget, but it's like that. It's the major topics of step 2. Then NBME also has step 2 practice exams. I recommend you do them live. I think it's $80 a piece. But yeah, definitely do those as well.
Okay, and then what should be the cutoff score to know if you're even ready to go for the exam?
Depends. What is your goal? My goal is 40 plus. So I made sure all of my my practice exams were higher than 2. So, okay, maybe keep a buffer of 10 points. If your goal is 250, make sure that you are landing between 250 and 260 on your practice exams. Okay. Keep a buffer, because exam day is not going to reflect exactly. You might miss one question and you go down 5 points. But if you have a buffer, I would say to keep a 10-point buffer.
Okay. I guess we have already covered everything regarding step exam. Now I would like to know some more details about the platform that we are running, the Resiyay. Can you please share some details about that? And what
Yeah,
kind of services are you providing with?
of course. I love talking about Resiyay.
Okay.
But before that, did you want me to talk anything about the match process? Is that something we're discussing today?
Okay. Yeah, you are allowed to shed a brief light on that part, but I would be more interested in knowing the details about the platform that you are like running.
We'll talk about Resiyay, but I really want people to get the information for match, and it's like free information
Uh-huh. Okay, sure.
because we're talking about step 2. Last season when we started, so my friends and I who are part of the Resiyay, we're all matched 23 applicants. So we matched in 23. A lot of the people were international graduates. So if you're an international graduate and you've taken step 2, say now, we're in June, July. If you can take step 3, take it. If you can.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? As soon as you take step 3, you no longer have to take any more USMLE exams. So technically, you're done. You're proven to the programs, look, I can pass American or US exams. Number 2, a lot of programs have a cutoff for step 3 for international graduates. Step 3, I'm told, is similar to step 2. I haven't taken it, but if you can, take it. Also, ECFMG certification. Make sure you get that before you apply for match. Why does it matter? Maybe I can wing it. Maybe I can do it later. A lot of programs going to say, hey, you are an international graduate. Do you have your ECFMG certificate? If you get it in October, if you get it in November, but applications go in September, you will be frowned upon by some programs. So don't close any doors on yourself, basically.
What if we get that certificate late and we update the program directors afterwards after we have submitted the application?
Like, Ali, when it comes down to residency application, there isn't anything that's like, well, what if I do this? You can do whatever you want, but do you want to know what's going to increase your highest chances?
Yeah.
Your highest chances is being ready on time. Now, on that note, some people say you don't have to apply by September 28. I'm not sure what the date is this year. No, I don't have to apply by September 28. I can apply later. Program says they take applications up to November. You can apply whatever you want. But if you want to increase your chances, make sure your CFMG certificate is good to go. Make sure your LORs are good to go. And make sure your application CV is proofread and doesn't have any grammatical mistakes. Answer your question. If you get it later, you know what you have to do, which I ended up doing for my LORs because my LORs came late. All the way LORs were late. You have to sit down the day after applying. You are in this very emotional state. You have to sit down, email every single program and tell them, look, please don't disregard my application. My paperwork is coming in. If you want to do that, sure. But going to Resiyay. What is Resiyay? What is this? What's all that about? So again, going back to Match 23. So this was around September 22. Some of us were thinking, there should be a platform where people should be able to come together and practice interviews. Everybody has free resources, which is wonderful. Inside the Match is amazing. It's a US-based program, US-based organization that helps with the Match. But nobody provides free group mocks. So we got together, we put together a Zoom thing. We got together the scheduling thing. All right, you guys, whoever wants to sign up. Once you come on to the Zoom session, it'll be 3 to 4 of you in a breakout room. And then we put together some standardized questions for everybody to go through, and also a standardized evaluation form. You need to know what people are going to be, evaluating you on. You need to know that. So we put together some of that. Then it grew from there to, okay, like Tabby, now we want USMLE help. We need to know what kind of resources. Okay, so we put that together. Then it came down to residency application. Okay, like we don't know what's happening. Can there be some instructions? Said, okay, so we did that. That's kind of how Resiyay came together. Honestly, I'm so blessed that it's going in the direction it's going. It's really, people had needs. They told us. We said, okay, let's put it together. Now, the future of Resiyay is, so we're going to start our group mocks in September 22, which is Friday, right before applications start. We are going to have PGYs. We're going to have residents come through every now and then, take a question, break it down for you guys. After that, you do your group session, you do your practice. Someone is going to be there the entire time if your network fails to make sure that you're taken back on. I made sure of that this year, that people have a good experience. It's absolutely free. On top of that, we have the Discord community. We were on WhatsApp, but we grew out of WhatsApp. We got too big.
Okay.
So we had to go to Discord. Discord is where all my friends and I are. There's about 40 of us who are residents. I think there's 40 residents. We have one attending, and we're always hanging out there. You guys have any questions, you let us know. We'll respond. The other future of Resiyay is intern year. We already did work on that. We got some presentations done, but as we go through residency, we'll start, stacking the resources for that.
Okay.
That's pretty much Resiyay, but how do we run this? Obviously, you have to financially run things. We run it by doing individualized mock interviews. That's not something you have to use, but if you want to, all the information's on the website.
Okay, that's great, and your efforts are commendable. I have a question.
Thank you. And so are your efforts. Remember, we were speaking about this when we connected. I saw your platform. I was like, wow, that is so wonderful. That's great work.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Tabby, let's wind up the session. And if there are any final tips that you would like to give to someone who is planning to move to the US or the further higher education, so you can please go ahead and share those tips or advices.
I have this written as a Instagram post. I will send that to you afterwards. A lot of things that people don't consider when they're moving to the US are the financial side of things, or how do I get a bank account? How do I get a phone number? A lot of people will guide you through how to apply this and this. But if that's something you're concerned about, I will send that post to you afterwards. But general advice, look, somebody knows somebody. So if you have a good attitude and you have a respectful attitude, people would notice and remember you. Right now, if you're thinking, I'm going to apply for residency this year, next year, start making a list of everybody you know in the US and just politely reaching out to them. One thing, keep in mind, they might have been your college mates, but now they're in residency. Sometimes people get busy. Sometimes things change. Whenever you reach out to these people, be respectful. Use the proper language. Don't think they're still your buddy. They might be. They might not be. Start making connections. Be honest with your intentions. Hey, Dr. X, I'm going to start applying in Match 25 in this specialty, and I just wanted to see if I could reach out to you about some advice. If they say yes, that's your green light. Every couple of months, hey, Dr. X, I was wondering if you could look at my personal statement. People will. So that would be my last advice. Just be a good person. It helps.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Tabby, for sharing these valuable tips. And I'm really grateful that you spared time for the podcast. And I wish you all the very best for your platform as well.
Thank you, Aliyah. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much to all the viewers who have watched the episode till the very end. Join us next time for more exciting conversations. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.